my name is Mike. Hey, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Unexpected Season 5 Tell All Part 2. Kylan and Jason decided to walk back on stage, and they walked off stage because Kylan felt attacked. And as Jason's walking back on stage, he says the professional raw dogger is back. Every time I hear that statement, I want to bang my head against the wall. First of all, it's stupid, and I kind of feel like it's inappropriate because it can be taken in many different ways and not in any good ways. Back on stage, Amanda, is it Amanda or Amanda? I'm not exactly sure what it is, but we're just calling it Amanda. Amanda is explaining to Kylan what all the women were just trying to make sure she was okay, or at least trying to explain their perspective, because Jason talks to Kylan very disrespectful and very hurtful. Amanda asks, does it hurt when Jason talks to you like that? And she sits there for a moment and she says it kind of does hurt overall. That's what she ends up saying, but she kind of paused and really did not know what to say, not wanting to upset Jason. She also says that she feels like it's best for her and Jason to be together, especially for Xavier's sake, so they can have two parents in one household, which that is not always best in my opinion. There are definitely people out there who it's better if their parents were just not together, because if their parents were together, they would definitely kill each other, literally and non-literally. And I feel like Kylan's just saying that because she feels the need to defend Jason, and I don't know if she even really believes that. And all the grandmothers are backstage talking about how we can actually make it worse. I believe they're all speaking from experience. Going back on stage, Jason and Kylan both wish everyone would just mind their business and get out of theirs, which I find that funny that they say that and they put themselves on TV for everyone to be in their business. And I kind of hate when people who are on TV say that, and I'm not saying people who are on reality TV don't deserve privacy, but to some extent you're also giving that up by putting your life on TV. You really can't be upset when other people are in your business. Last episode, Jason talked about how he wanted to make a closing statement when he went back on stage. Amanda ended up asking what's Jason's closing statement, and he literally sits there for 2 minutes not saying anything, I guess thinking of a closing statement that he probably already had thought in his head if he was gonna say it. I honestly think he came back on stage because he likes the attention. In my opinion, it would have been way better if Jason and Kylan just left before they even had came back the second time, because Jason leaving is practically Unexpected's biggest blessing, except them running for 5 seasons. Jason's probably like the worst thing that probably could ever really happen to them, to be honest. He actually doesn't end up saying anything at all, and he asks Claudia has anything to say. She ends up saying that they love each other and that they're fine. But honestly, I feel like love sometimes isn't enough. You can love somebody, but y'all cannot be good for each other. I don't even think Jason loves Kylan, so I definitely think that was a reach of a statement. And all the girls talk about how they're not trying to criticize the relationship or make you feel bad, they're just checking up on you, making sure you're okay. She goes on to say that she doesn't need the criticism, especially since she doesn't judge their relationship, and they just need to stay out of hers. So I'm not understanding why she's so defensive, especially since they're not necessarily being rude towards her, they're being rude towards Jason. But I guess she has such a strong attachment to Jason. When someone's insulting him, she thinks that they're insulting her, and it's like a we thing, but it's really like a him thing, if that makes sense. Then Amanda ended up asking Jason, do you think you can at least learn and take something from what they've said, and really just this experience as a whole, and mature and grow up from everything, especially being so young? While she's asking the question, Jason's interrupting her the whole time like he runs the show, which he doesn't. And it's really just annoying when anyone interrupts anybody. It's even more annoying when it's someone like Jason and he speaks nothing but nonsense, things that just don't make any sense. Ends up answering her question by saying having a child matures you a lot and helps you grow, and not that he's wrong, they just aren't doing any growing. They're still in the same mindset as if they didn't have a child, in my opinion. Lee chimes in, just basically talking about how there's certain boundaries you don't cross when you have a partner and you really respect each other, and he interrupts Lily while she's talking, and Lawrence stops Jason in his tracks by telling him you have to be able to accept criticism, be able to learn and grow, and that's a part of learning and growing, is accepting criticism and applying it to what you need to correct. Even interrupts Lawrence, but Lawrence tries to get his point across by saying, overall, just accept criticism so you can learn and grow. And Lawrence asks, do you get what I'm saying? And Jason says yes, but I don't think he really understood what he was saying at all. even bother to really grasp it. Then Amanda takes the focus off Kylan and Jason by saying, let's look at other people's relationships and talk about other people's relationships and just not talk about Kylan and Jason. Jenna starts talking about how she really loves Lily and Lawrence's relationship and she's hoping to find something like that one day and to have a beautiful blended family. And when in the middle of talking, Jason and Kylan randomly walk out. He says that they didn't want to be there anymore. He didn't get to make his closing statement. As they're walking off, Amanda is talking to Jason, specifically saying, you claim you're being misrepresented, but you won't represent yourself. He says he's tried, but he kept getting interrupted, but I could have sworn there was like 2 minutes of silence of nobody talking, so Jason can say his closing statement. I really think Jason and Kylan walked off because, one, Jason is an attention whore. He loves attention. He thrives off of attention. When the attention is not being put on him, he feels no need to be there. That was the whole issue with the whole labor and epidural situation. It wasn't about Jason, and because he wasn't the center of attention, he had an issue. They end up taking a break, and Erica walks downstairs to give Kylan a hug and basically just be there for her since her mother couldn't be there for her today. Kylan didn't really seem to appreciate it or even really grasp what Erica was doing. It was kind of random, not even gonna lie, but she was trying to be there for her and she looked like she automatically rejected it, especially since Jason was just around the corner. I thought it was really sweet of Erica. Don't get me wrong, I definitely think Erica is probably like one of the most narcissistic people on the show when it comes to being a grandparent, but I also feel like she does have good traits of caring for people, except her own daughter, but we'll get into that a little later. But I do feel like she does have some sense of sympathy, I said, other than for her own daughter. But anyways, I did not want to turn this to a rant about Emerson's mom. Going backstage with Heidi, Scott, Kyle, and Jason are getting ready and leaving. Scott says they handled themselves very well and did a very good job, which I think Kylan handled herself well, especially being in the type of relationship that she's in. She's the best she could. Jason, on the other hand, I don't think he did a good job at all. Because he felt like everyone should move on his time and do what he wants and do what he says. And that's not how TV works, or really just how life works in general. So, and then plus, I really dislike Jason, so that's also another reason why he did not do a good job in my book. The producers asked, do you have anything left to say? And they both say no, and so do their parents, which, that's a win in my book. Kyle and Jason are exhausting to watch, and I would personally watch reality TV for fun, and so I can feel a little better about my own life. But this was just straight sad and very disturbing. Enough of Kylan and Jason. We move on to Jenna, Heather, Kathy, and Matt. And they watch Jenna and Aiden's wildest moments of the season, and basically just how Aiden disrespected Jenna the whole season. And at this moment, Jenna and Aiden are not together, and they have not been together for about 4 months, and Jenna has moved out and gotten her own apartment with Luca. We also talk about how Aiden was a controlling person and how he had similarities between him and Jason. Not 100% all the way, but in certain areas that made them similar, like the controlling aspect. Because when Jenna and Aiden started becoming this new coming of themselves, Aiden kind of pushed her friends and her family away and kind of just isolated her. We also talk about how Aiden is a good father but not a good boyfriend, and Matt is the one who said that. He kind of mixed his words up a little bit, and it came across as he was saying Aiden just isn't a good father and like not a good person in general, but that's not what he meant. He meant that, you know, Aiden just isn't a good partner, specifically for Jenna. I feel like who you are as a person and your parenting can correlate over at some point. Maybe not all the time, but I feel like it definitely can have effects on a child. But Jenna didn't want to be like her parents. She was also looking for stability and wanting to make things work for Luca. It just didn't play out like that. Let's talk about Jenna's parents' relationship, Heather and Matt, and how it was similar to Jenna's and Aiden's, but Matt was just kind of not there and wasn't there for her, but Aiden was definitely more controlling. But they did overall saying that Jenna and Aiden do not have a relationship outside of co-parenting Luca and seeing who's gonna get him and when who's gonna get him. And they do have a custody hearing coming up, so at some point they won't even have that type of communication. So the moral of the story is that Jen and Aiden are just done and they're not getting back together. There really wasn't much to this segment, so I really didn't feel the need to rant about it, but there is much the next segment with Emerson, Mason, Erica, Sai, and Ernie and Shannon. Going to on stage, they only have Erica, Sai, and Emerson, and they take a look back at some of their wildest moments throughout the season. Once you're finished looking at it, Erica is nodding her head because Emerson had said, if I make a bad decision, at least it's on my end, and she was agreeing with Emerson had said. Emerson ended up defending that by saying she's just an independent person and she likes being on her own. And Erica goes on and talk about how she tried to prevent Emerson from getting pregnant so she wouldn't make the same mistakes that she had made. And I find that funny that she said that, but she preached something unrealistic, and I don't believe Emerson is a very religious person at all, so knowing that about your child, why wouldn't you do things that were going to prevent them and not you? You know? Then they talk about their relationship, and they ultimately end up saying that they get along better when they're not living in the same household, which that's where a lot of relationships work out better that way. I know I have some relationships in my life that they just work better if we are not under each other all the time and aren't invading each other, especially when you're specifically dealing with someone like Erica. You definitely need space from her. They talk about the supposed safety dangers at Mason's home, which there aren't any. Erica's just being judgmental, and that's what it falls down to at the end of the day, because Erica talks about Shannon as if she was on drugs and she's strung out and in and out of the house, when that's not the case. Shannon is clean and is doing very well, so I'm not exactly sure why she speaks with Shannon like that. And I feel like if Mason felt like his mom was a danger to be around, he would not put his child around her. But then, as I say that, Erica says that Emerson says she feels safer when Shannon is not there. Emerson said that she never said that her mom was putting words in her mouth, which I 100% believe that. Erica seems like the type of person to lie and gaslight you just to make herself look better and to make herself feel better, because she knows that she's in the wrong. If Emerson felt that way, why would she go and live with Mason? That doesn't make any sense. And Erica is still saying how she didn't feel like it was a good decision for Emerson to go and live at Mason's home, but obviously your daughter did not want to live there for some reason. I hate that Erica's painting her house as this wholly perfect home, when it probably isn't. Emerson did not want to live there for a reason, and I think it's further than just the rules that she had. I think there was some stuff that happened before the cameras even got there, maybe a couple of years ahead, months ahead, I don't know. But this problem just didn't unravel overnight. This had probably been years built up, and Emerson finally had the opportunity to get away. Emerson is still being understanding and respectful of her mom's feelings, which that's one thing I love about Emerson. She's always respectful, even when I feel like she shouldn't have to be. So obviously Erica did raise Emerson right, or either that's just from trauma, but either way, Emerson has turned out to be a very respectful young lady, and I feel like Erica should really appreciate that. And overall, who just Emerson is as a person. I don't think Emerson was like this terrible teen. I think Erica's rules just too strict and Emerson couldn't deal with it. Maybe the smoking weed and sneaking out was bad, but I also felt like that's not stuff that a lot of teenagers don't do. So she perceives it like Emerson was doing crack. No, she was just smoking a little weed, and that was it. Not meant to turn this to a rant how I don't feel Emerson is bad as Erica tries to make her, but I felt like that was important because that's what she kind of does the whole season, in my opinion. But anyways, back to the show. They finally bring out Mason, Ernie, and Shannon. Shannon's on a video chat because of her probation. She cannot leave Washington, and they are filming this in New York. This will be the first time Erica and Shannon have ever had a conversation and have met each other. Erica starts outright attacking Shannon, and this is the first time she's even met her or even talked to her, saying they've never met and she hasn't invited her for dinner, and vice versa. She's saying she doesn't know if she can because she don't know if she's going to leave the county, which Shannon can leave the county, but she cannot leave the state. Once Shannon starts defending herself, Erica interrupts her, saying that's why you violated your probation last week and went back to jail. They never talked about what she violated on her probation or what she went back to jail for. But probation is very strict. If you even move to a house and they didn't approve it and do all that stuff, you can go back to jail for just something as simple as that. So it literally could have been anything, and she didn't have to do the most extreme thing like go do drugs again. Like, you know, it could have been something as simple as that. So Erica is definitely being dramatic. She starts attacking Ernie by saying, you took Emerson without my permission, even though Emerson is 18 and she could technically do whatever she wants legally. And she says that she was begging Ernie not to take my daughter, trying to play victim really is what she's doing. But at the end of the day, Emerson wanted to leave, and Erica said she wanted to talk the situation out. But everyone says that's not what happened at all, and Erica was being a crazy person, and they decided to leave. I believe she was being a crazy person, and that's why they left. I don't think she was a calm, manly manner like she is now. I think that's what she wants to convince everybody, but she's not convincing me. And honestly, shame on her if we really want to play that game. You made your own daughter uncomfortable in your own home, and you threw your daughter under the bus really quick when you had said she felt more comfortable with Shane and not there, knowing that she has to live there and go back home there the next day. So if anything, shame on her. Emerson and Erica both start to cry, but I guess how overwhelming it is. Side goes on to say that they were both postpartum, and it was just very emotional when Emerson had chose to leave that day. Then he goes on to talk about the rule about the no sleeping in the bed together, and he goes on to say that they had just had a baby and they had should not been thinking about sex, and Emerson was saying she wasn't thinking about sex. She had just had a baby and her vagina literally just ripped in half. And you know, maybe you do decide you want to have sex with your wife when she's postpartum and just had a baby, but I don't think Emerson nor Mason wants to. So let's not project onto other people. Sai goes on to say that he's not completely blaming Emerson, even though he technically was. But Mason apologized to Erica, saying, I was in the wrong for going and sleeping in the bed, and I apologize. Even though I felt like he should have never had to apologize, he was a dumb rule, and they were just trying to take care of their child at the end of the day. But it was big of him and respectful of him to apologize to Erica, even though he wasn't in the wrong. Erica and Sai accept his apology, and this is really going to help them move on from the whole situation and just as people all together. Then Amanda asks, now that we've gotten the apology, will Shannon and Erica ever get along? Could they go for coffee or something like that? And Erica says they're just going a different direction in their lives, and that probably won't ever happen. And I find that funny because this is the first time they've ever even met each other, and they already have come to terms that they will not ever have a relationship. I find that funny. Going backstage, Emerson is talking about how her mom put words in her mouth and basically just lied on her. Mason believes Emerson, especially because she wouldn't live somewhere she felt uncomfortable by choice. Then switching to Erica and Sai, Erica says it went well and hopefully they can move on and grow from it. I don't think they will be able to move on and grow. Maybe Emerson and her mom, because, you know, that's her mom, and they forgive each other and they forget and they move on with their lives, but everyone else, that is still in question. And Shannon had a couple of words to say about Erica. She thought Erica was just a liar, a judgmental person, overall just not a good person. Basically the opinion that everyone has of Erica so far. And enough about Erica, we look on to Lily and Lawrence and look at some of their challenging moments throughout the season. And after looking at the moments, they talk about the bed situation and Lily wanting to put the bed in the room and how she didn't like it once they got into the apartment. They never end up moving the beds back around, and she says she likes it now because she gets more sleep that way. And Lawrence doesn't even sleep in the big bed. Her and the kids sleep in the queen size bed while Lawrence sleeps in Aaliyah's bed in the room. I wonder if Lawrence can even really fit into that bed. I'm not sure how big the bed is, but I don't think the bed can be that big. So that seems pretty uncomfortable for him. It won't be for long because Lily and Lawrence are moving back into Lily's childhood home, but the catch is that Lily's parents are moving out and Lily and Lawrence will live at her parents' house and her childhood home and pay rent there instead of at the apartment that they're at for the moment. Lily's parents are gonna live in a 65 and up community, and they're gonna move out, and it's a mutual agreement between all of them. Amanda asks about marriage for Lily and Lawrence, and Lily and Lawrence have decided to put the wedding off so they could take their time on it and so they could focus on moving out, moving into Lily's childhood home again. Amanda asks, are Lawrence's friends gonna help them move again? And Lily said no, she's hiring a moving company. Lawrence says he can do it on his own, but she's gonna hire a moving company. If she uses her money, he doesn't care, since the last move was so stressful. And yeah, that was the end of the episode. It was a good 5 out of 10. I feel like they clickbaited us a lot, actually. They never talked about Noah's kids. They never talked about Kylan, and when she said it gets stressful at times, they didn't talk about any of that, so I felt a little cheated, but it was still a good episode. Hopefully Kylan and Jason do not come back next season. I will not watch nor review if they come back next season, just because they were so stressful to watch. And yeah, that's it. I am reviewing Seeking Sister Eyes. If you want to watch that, I will have that posted either on Wednesday or Thursday. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you want, and bye.